Hello, hello. Welcome to Showbiz Connect, where you make connection. I'm so happy to see you guys. Thank you for coming. This is your best 60 minutes of the week, and this is our Zoomcast number 7. So I'm really excited to be here with all of you. And Showbiz Connect has been created to help you make connection and learn. It's a community for artists, actors, models, directors, beginners, dreamers, and doers who take action. Whether you're a beginner in the middle of your career or you're starting over, well, this webinar gives you insight in the industry. So we give you this free webinar every 2 Wednesdays with the same link, so you can use that same link. And you can also watch the last episodes on my YouTube channel. When you type casting vlog, I'm going to put it in the chat so you can check your chat because we're going to be giving you a lot of links today. And you can subscribe for some more as well videos. We have new guests every show, and today we have the honor to have a director and a writer to help your journey. So we also have a gift for you all at the end of the Zoom and a draw for the live attendees, as usual. And most especially, our famous breakout rooms for you to mingle later on, all between us. So if you want to act, model, or become a better performer, this is your meeting connection, my showbiz. Me as a casting director, I wear a lot of hats, but I'm grateful and excited for hosting and giving back to the industry by connecting people, sharing my knowledge, and have amazing guests. And wow, I just came back from a week vacation, so lots of energy. Open your cameras, my showbiz, and be visible. It's called Showbiz Connect, right? Also important info, if you want to receive casting breakdowns of demand for different roles and jobs, modeling, extra work, make sure you are in the Total Casting database. And how you do that? Well, you have to go to totalcasting.ca. I'm going to put it in the chat in case you don't have it. And you can go and register to be in our database so you can receive the newsletter and the different casting. Nota bene, if you want to become VIP and get the copy of the chat and the full unedited Showbiz Connect recording of today, as well as access to the Showbiz Facebook group, you can click on the link in the chat to get it for $7, just enough for the assistant to be able to send it to you, and we will email everything to you. So the theme of the show today is in the biz of commercials. Why do TV commercials? Certainly for income and stability. Commercials are quick and often pays really well, especially if they air nationally or internationally. You can get residuals for a year or more, meaning royalties for re-airing the commercial so it can bring steady income. It gives you visibility and exposure with massive screen time, depending what commercial it is. And sometimes it can reach millions of viewers, helping you get noticed by casting directors and producers and directors, obviously. Commercials offer professional on-camera experience, and actors learn to deliver precise performances quickly, work with directors, and adapt to different production styles. Therefore, building your portfolio for your demo reels, right? It's going to give you versatility and range by playing different characters like a parent, a comic, a doctor, which shows you flexibility and range to the industry. Our first guest can certainly vouch for that, right? Jack Hackel is our first guest. Jack Hackel is a perfectly bilingual director and producer based in Montreal, Canada. He runs his production company and has been creating professional video content since forever for advertising, corporate videos, and commercial work. Jack believes good directing is rooted in listening closely to a client's vision, understanding their objectives, and combining that with a strong visual and auditory sense. Jack is funny, witty, and an amazing human being. I love this guy. Welcome, my friend, Jack Hackel.
Well,
Hello, Jack.
well, thank you very much for unmuting me and for that very, very elaborate introduction. Funny? I don't know. That remains to be seen. We'll see how that goes. But yes, I've known. I see some people in the gallery that I know. I mean, Jacob. I go way back with Jacob, and I believe Marc Saint Marie. I think you've been. We've worked together in the past, whether it was Canadian Tire or myriad other commercials. I don't remember, but I certainly remember seeing you in the mix. So, hello to all the rest of you. It's a pleasure to be here with you, Hélène.
Thank you so much. It's so cool. And I love your background, really.
Well, thank you. Yes, I spend a lot of time in space. As directors are like mushrooms, especially commercial directors. They keep us in the dark, and they feed us with bullshit. So that's the way that works. So I like to stay in the dark, and I'm very happy that you're making this sort of initiative to give people an inside sort of scoop, if you will, with all of this talented array of people that you have here put together here. And it's a pleasure to be here to be able to share whatever I can share to give you people some ideas of what it is we do, what we're looking for as a director when we're in casting, and just about the business in general. You know, it's as you mentioned, it can be a very lucrative business, and
Yeah.
that's for everybody involved, including not just the actors in front of the camera, but the rates for people in advertising, even the people who work on set, the lighting people, the directors of photography. Obviously, it's always the creme de la creme. So, corporate structures are willing to pay the big bucks to get that, that superstar, the next superstar that's up and coming. So,
Beautiful.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, would you like a background? How would you like to work this? So,
Yeah. I never asked you. I mean, we know each other for over 30 years, I guess. I don't know.
oh my God. By the way, I have to change that picture from
25
my
years,
website.
25 years, probably 25 years, I think, because when I started 25 years ago, I think you were one of the first director I was working with. And I think
Yes,
it was the few Canadian hires at the time, I believe.
right.
But yeah, how did you start it? And how many years have you been in the biz?
Well, I've been in the business for years, and and I know honestly, I've been in the business for about 45 years this year. I started as a wee lad, just out of school. I was studying marketing and film school. I was in both, and I wasn't sure where I wanted to go. And it just happened that one day I met somebody from CTV, a camera person, an operator, and he was very well established at CTV. He brought me in and took me around, and I just fell in love with the place, and I realized at that point that the studio was where I wanted to live. So I worked very arduously to get noticed by people there. I started as carrying cables, painting studios, doing what most people do while I was still in school. And then I decided at one point they hired me full time, so I gave up my scholastic endeavors, and I decided because it was a technical industry, I would learn directly on the best equipment and not the crap that we had at school that was a couple 15 or 20 years old. So rather than editing on this on an old film reel, we were working with the latest equipment and so on. And then after a number of years, I realized that advertising was where I wanted to be. Very quick hits. I was not into the long narratives. I loved the pop art style that often comes with the advertising. You get to work with the best tools because we have budgets in advertising. The average budget of a show, if we look at Quebec, a television show might get $40,000 for a 30-minute show, and we were getting $80,000 for a 30-second commercial. Uh,
Exactly.
and some when I used to do the Canadian Tire ads, they would go up to $250,000 per 60-second commercial, and we're talking about 20 years ago.
Mhm.
So obviously, when you have budgets like that, as a director, you get to play with the best toys. You have the latest, gizmos, the best cameras, the best optics, and so on. And that's where I decided to pursue my career. Stayed with CTV for a number of years, working in retail advertising because that's where most people start. Like a film director, If you're going to be a director, they want to give you a short film to do first, see how you do with that, and then they'll give you the, the full length feature if you do well. So it was the same in advertising. I worked in retail ads doing those, wee papa kind of things. That I didn't do those myself, but I had a little more, a little more. I'd like to give them a little more oomph and a little more decorum than that. But after about 4 or 5 years of doing retail, I started to pursue work in the national advertising realm, and that's when I got into doing Canadian Tire, a number of other ads, and that just sort of snowballed into me working. At one point, I left CTV. I went to TVA to work in French because that's a much more lucrative market here in Quebec. And being that I'm 95% bilingual, it was an obvious choice for me. I got it in there. As a matter of fact, I did my first job for TVA. It was quite interesting. It was a 90-second commercial that we did for the turn of the millennium. So it was going to air at midnight of 1999 to 2000, where everybody thought the world was going to end. So we did a beautiful commercial with everyone who ever worked, who was ever famous at TVA, all of the old actresses from Janine Souto to a panoply of people from the news, from all of their TV shows, from their, from their magazine shows. So now, being that I'm Anglophone mostly, I didn't really know these shows. So here were all these big stars coming into studio, and I had no idea who they were. So that bought me a lot of clout because they figured I was from out of town or from the United States, and they had hired me in, brought in this special expert from out of town to do this commercial. As it turned out, it did air. So the very first commercial of the new millennium on TVA was mine. It was a huge production. We had over 350 people in the ad itself. We shot over 6 days, and it was quite a prodigious task. And then I stayed there for about 10 years. And then I went out on my own. And after that, I decided I had a client who I was working very closely with, and he said, "Hey, find me another production company." He says, "Or why don't you do the work for?" It was for a large company for Lebeau Vitre d'Auto, which is owned by Belron, which is a South African company, multinational. And I opened my own production company, and based on that, and here I am, 15 years later, still doing whatever I can, slowing down a little on the advertising because it's very trying, it's very precise, but it really can siphon a lot of energy out of anybody involved. Sorry,
You
I'm a
mind
little
if we
verbose.
show a little clip, a mini a peek of your demo? Do you mind?
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, let's take a look at a few of the.
It's a 2-minute demo. It's actually 2 minutes. And what I decided to do is because what producers are looking for directors, they want to see that you have range, that you are able to do different types of production and really make them sing. So I decided to do 4 30-second spots, one for lifestyle, one for humor, one for emotion, and one for video effects and green screen, because that's one of my specialties. I do a lot of video effects and green screen shooting, and now lead wall shooting and so on. So I just did a 2-minute video, which is like 4 30-second spots.
We
That was the
shortened it up a
concept.
little bit, but we're gonna put your website in the chat as well,
Oh,
so we can go further. But let's have a look. All
sure.
right.
That's PK Subban, by the way, at the very end there. Yes, I thank you, Jacob. That's just the VFX part of my demo. But
I
that
love
was
it.
I directed the PK Subban documentary about 8 or 9 years ago. When that's when he was in Montreal, and he just as he was traded, and that was a picture, one of the shots that I shot of him doing his godlike pose, and I decided to use it at the end of my demo. There
It's
you go. Thank you for
fantastic.
showing that. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
we love it. And we put your website in the chat so people can go and see all of your other beautiful work that you do. Is
Oh, well,
there a
thank you.
job that you really remember that was your best job ever that you've done?
Well,
Is this one of them in your 40 years?
there are so many that take on different characteristics that you like. Some of them are exotic locations. So I've shot from Kiev to Patagonia. That was an amazing shoot. We went to Patagonia to do the making of a 3D IMAX dinosaur film that they uncovered these dinosaurs in the biggest dinosaurs ever found in Patagonia. And we went there for a month for the Discovery Channel to do a making of these guys traipsing these massive cameras through the bush 500 miles from anywhere. And to see the lengths that they go to make these things happen was very, very impressive. Shooting in places like Kiev, traveling a lot, that's always interesting. I'd have to say, um, advertising, when people say, advertising is soulless, has no soul. They say that, sometimes they called me a sellout because I wasn't doing the Puritan scripts and looking for that feature film narrative that would make me the director that I should be. So they called me a sellout. But I was making decent cash, had a great time doing it. But I remember once doing, I used to do the Canadian Tire national commercials. And I remember once we were rented this massive house, and this woman sees all these trucks outside and 40 people running around the house. And she says, well, I'm in French. She said, I'm curious, what are you advertising? I said, oh, I don't know, it was a salad something or other or whatever it was. And she said, ah, un autre gugus qui va aller dans le fond du tiroir, après la troisième fois que tu le sais. So another piece of crap that goes into the back of the drawer that nobody really needs. So that was not, that sort of made me question the role that I chose in my vocational life. But then I got to do the anti-smoking commercials. I did
Oh,
the
yes, I remember
Quebec.
those.
Yes, you remember
Yes,
you casted all of them. So you
yes.
you should. We did
Wow.
them. Well, I did them for about 12 or 13 years. And to me, that was my contribution. Those were the best, even though they weren't the most amazing ads in terms of concept. There was some other stuff that was far more off the cuff and more pop artish and a lot of animation stuff. But these had heart. And I always felt
Oh,
that if
yes.
I
It
could,
was poignant, right? It would
well,
take
that's
you to
it.
the heart.
They were looking to, as percussive. They really wanted, to hit people in the right places. And so to
Mhm.
me, it was about the fact that if I helped one person quit smoking, I've done something for humanity and I can make my contribution, and that is my retribution. Okay, so I look at those, but there are some fascinating shoots that I've done over the years. The most interesting, of course, are the highly technical video effects commercials that require a lot of technical knowledge. That because you have a blank screen behind you and you're directing people on a green screen. I remember Steven Spielberg when he first did Jurassic Park, or one of the actors who was in Jurassic Park saying, we're supposed to be frightened about this 40-foot character, and we're standing in a studio without any sound, and some guy with a 40-foot pole with a little dinosaur head on the end of it, and that's how we reacted. So to me, that is probably the most challenging, is the stuff that I've done in VFX. I've done quite a few stuff. I used to work, I don't know if anybody remembers a studio that's now called Tonic DNA, that was called Studio Pascal Blais
Yeah.
beforehand. I used to be their live shooting director. So anytime they had to incorporate live action with animation, I was their go-to guy. So I'd say that I was there on the onset of special effects, which really takes us back to something that Jacob Potashnik will remember, the Ultimat. I was there at the very beginning. I saw him, the Ultimat, which allowed us for the first time to remove someone from the green screen easily, without that stuff that you get when you were watching the weather. And the person would move and suddenly their watch would disappear. So that was really to be there at the onset of that, as well as the onset of 3D animation. If you remember well, that Softimage was a company
Yeah.
that was built here in Quebec by our own talent,
Yeah.
and that's what made Steven Spielberg's film of Jurassic Park possible. And
Yes.
I was lucky enough to work on the beta version of that machine. So to
Yeah.
me, those are two moments that are very, very memorable. The beginning of video effects was certainly a big one for me as well.
And what's your future projects?
Well, I have to tell you that the advertising business is very fast. It's very arduous because there's a lot to carry. There are a lot of people involved. The more money that's being spent, the more people that are involved on the corporate side and on the agency side, because when you're a director, you work for a production company. The agency goes to the production company and asks you to interpret their commercials, and they hire them, and so on. So you're always 2 or 3 times removed from the client, and we're kind of like animals in a zoo. The agency didn't want the clients, to talk to us directly, to justify, of course, their raison d'être, which makes perfect sense. So these days, I have to say that I'm kind of slowing down a bit. After 40 years of running at this, I decided to maybe start walking. So I'm doing some documentary work. I'm currently working on I'm also a video gamer, which I've always been, and since the days of Sega. For those of you who remember those ads, which I did a few of, they gave me my first game console because I'd never touched a game and said, if you're going to do our commercials, you should play. And here
Yeah.
I am many years later doing exactly that. And I'm doing a documentary, 60-minute documentary on the video gaming industry in Quebec City, strictly in Quebec, on the
Wow.
artists and so on. So that's what I'm doing over the next 2 or 3 months. And I just started, making the arrangements today. So that's where I am.
Well, that's fantastic.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
and lastly, do you have any tips for actors to do, not to do on set, like etiquettes or something you've seen that's really bad behavior or good behavior?
Well, I think that everything starts in casting. Okay. That's really the place where you have to make your mark. When you're in a casting session, uh, do not come in and say, especially for an ad when you have 30 seconds worth of text, which is maybe 20 once you get rid of the voiceover at the end and the logo and all of that. So please don't come in and say, oh, I just got the text this morning, didn't have time to commit it to memory. Do you mind if I hold the script? We're all here to do this. Even if you got it this morning, there's 6 lines to learn. Put them together. So come prepared, be enthusiastic, ask the director prior to starting if there's an intention that he's looking for, if who the character is, get a little background on this, and what is the storyline. And most importantly, if it's a character that you're going to play, whether it's a garagiste, or a waiter, or whether you're a clerk at a, come in with a piece of clothing that looks like a garagiste, or a rag in your pocket, or do something that gives you context. That will make you stand out. The people who do that, I remember shooting once. We did something, and the guy was wrong for the role, but he was very handsome. He didn't have the gift of gab, but we were looking for a young male. He was being married that day, so he was the groom, and he came in wearing a tux. He came in wearing a tux, looking great. His hair was done, even though he didn't have a nice voice. Or we hired him because he had that beautiful enthusiasm, and he came in ready to go. We obviously gave him priority because of that.
That's fantastic. It's
Yeah,
to be ready, ready, ready,
always.
rehearse.
And
Oh,
if I
you know
might say
that.
one other thing, keep an ear, one ear on the director at all times, even when he's talking to his director of photography or whatever else, because he might say something that will pick up and help you. There's a lot of things that a director has to think of on set. So your performance is not always what he's focused on at the moment. So the more you can bring to the table or suggest, the more you show your range, and range, I'd have to say, that is the most important thing.
Thank you so much, Jack. It's
It's my
very
pleasure.
precious information, and that's what we're looking for,
That's great.
advice, connections, and it's so here to hear your side of the story, not
Right.
always our side or this side. And that's why it's nice to have a good spectrum of people with different angles like that. Stay with
That's
us because we're going to bring Jacob
sure.
have
I
a
look forward to
conversation about
that.
us,
All yours,
right?
buddy. Tag team.
We will, I'd like to introduce you to Jacob Potashnik next, who also worked on commercials. Jacob is a Montreal-based writer, screenwriter, producer who worked in film, television, web content for also over 40 years. We all seems to be all in the 40-year year, me and all of you. He also co-wrote the WGC award-winning film Stardom with Denis Arcand. And he's also bilingual, just like Jack. And he's the author of The Golem of Hampstead and Other Stories, which was shortlisted for the Concordia University First Book Prize. Welcome, Jacob. Come on down or come on stage. We're going to bring you in. We're going to ask you to unmute as well.
I'd like to
And
add something. Hi, everybody. Hello, Isa, Mark, Frank, Serena, Yannick, Sierra, Stephanie, and Jeremy, and
yeah,
TC. Stephanie's not sharing her image with us. Neither is Jeremy or TC because they're werewolves or they're vampires and they can't come out at daylight, which is very sad, but it's good for casting. I'd like to add to what Jack said about auditioning and casting.
yes, please.
Can I see the hands of people who are actually actors? Okay. Isa, are you an actor? No? What do
She's
you do,
becoming
Isa?
an actor.
Okay.
Isa and Frank are starting a class this Friday, actually.
Okay.
So they're going
So,
to become actors.
okay. I have a lot of friends who are actors and a lot of friends who do commercials. And back in the early days when they started, they would get very depressed because they go for auditions and they'd be like note perfect and they'd be wearing the right costume and they'd come in with a great attitude and they'd go up in front of these directors and producers and casting agencies. Hi, Jeremy. And they thought they nailed it. They thought they got it perfect and they didn't get the role. And they would get into a funk. They get quite depressed. And they would come up, they knew I was in the business and sometimes be people that I knew on the commercials that I was producing. And they say, "What happened? What happened?" I said, "Oh, well, it's really, sometimes the director just sees something in somebody else they didn't see in you." And I told them, I said, "Listen, your job, you think your job is acting, and it kind of is, but your job is really auditioning. That's your job. Now, if you do a great job of auditioning, you might get the role, but you have to be happy that you did a great audition. You got to walk out feeling, I nailed it. I gave them everything they wanted. And after that, it's personal taste. They may not like, I don't know, the glasses you're wearing, the color of your hair. Sorry. And you can't get bent out of shape because you don't get every role. But and that's also for feature, especially for feature film, for theater. It's very whimsical. A director might or a producer might just see something in somebody else they're not getting from you, or they're not seeing it in you right away. Maybe they're making a mistake. Let's say they are, but you've got to be confident in yourself. You have to be happy that you did the audition that you wanted to do. You brought the energy, you brought positive energy, and you leave it up to fate. If you have that attitude, I guarantee you'll do better. You won't get hit by this depression, this kind of like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? As you go back to your waitressing job or your call center job or you're selling your magazine job, whatever. Um, yes, Jack mentioned green screen. Green screen acting is something that hit the industry like in the 90s seriously. And a lot of actors had a hard time. They had a really difficult time. There's another thing, I don't know in acting workshops if you have special modules about acting in special effects or for video games where you're acting for nothing. I mean, you're acting to a little, if you're lucky, they've printed a face on a card and they're holding it on a boom and you're reacting to it.
Yeah.
Um,
You have to
but
know how to
again,
visualize who you're
yeah,
talking to. There's like techniques for that now.
sure.
Mm.
My advice for people who do that is to really go back to the script because believe it or not, most of the time, there's a guy like me months ago, maybe even years ago, who sat down at a computer, a blank screen, and put his guts and his blood and his emotions and his experience into words. And these words form a world. They generate a world. And sometimes you forget that because you get your sides, right? You get your sides. These are my sides. I got 3 pages today. Yay! But there's 120 other pages. So you get it to a set and you're reacting to his little face on a card and maybe you don't remember. Maybe you read the script on diagonal, quickly you brush through it, looking for your stuff. I used to date an actress who used to go through a script looking for her line. She'd go, bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Ah, my line. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. Ah, my line. Don't do that. Read the script. Have the world of the script in your head. Understand the world, all the characters, even the ones that you're not playing in. And that way, when you get to the set and you have to react to this little face or something, you go, oh, I know what this is about. I know why this
Context.
character is here at this time. I have the context, I have the narrative, I understand what brought my character to this point where I'm reacting to that. Goes for video games, goes for everything. So that's a good trick to use because I remember the days when I'm sure Jack does, we bring experienced actors, chevronnés, like Academy Award winning, and they get to a set with green screen and they were lost. They had no clue what to do. Who am
Right.
I reacting to? Am I looking at the camera? No? Who am I looking at? There's that little thing beside the camera? They just had no idea. So don't get caught like that. Know your character. In a certain sense, aside from the writer, maybe the director, especially working in long form, you're the expert of your character. You're the person who's done research into them. You know them better than anybody else, or at least you should. If they haven't given you a background for the character, write one. Sit down and write a background for the character so that you come with a point of view. You know the character, maybe even better than anybody else does. What else can I tell you? Commercials are changing, as Jack said. Jack and I came up in a time when the average budget for a national ad was well over $100,000, no matter what it was. It could be anything. It was well over $100,000. And since the millennium, or since I'd say 2010, the budgets have shrunk precipitously. And it's one of the reasons why not only have I aged out of the industry, but I stopped doing it because they couldn't afford me anymore. What I was asking for was far beyond what they were willing to pay. And there was a whole generation, 2 generations of people coming up who were more than happy to work for a third of what I was working for. Now,
But you did a lot of commercials too,
I
Jacob.
did tons of commercials.
What was the last one we
I
worked
was
on?
in-house at Jet Film for 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
before that, in the 80s, I was the king of the big runaway American commercials and European commercials in Montreal. I did all of them. They were huge. They were enormous jobs from
Did
Los
you guys
Angeles
work
to Toronto.
together before too, Jack?
No,
We
we
have
knew each other.
Yeah, we ran sort of tandem parallel careers. And, so I've known Jacob for all these years. And he was at Jet Film when I was at a company called La Fabrique d'Images.
That's
That's
right.
So I
correct.
still love the Image Factory. Great
Yeah.
name for a company. Unfortunately, it went bust about 15, 10,
Yeah.
12 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we were kind of, Jet Films and La Fabrique, they were really, we were competitors. So,
Yeah.
yes, but I remember those days, and it's a long time ago. And one thing, Jacob, you have to say as well is that the budgets, not only have the budgets come down, but the deliverables have quadrupled. So where you used to deliver one 30-second commercial, now you got to do a 30, you're gonna do a 60, you have to do a 15-second cut down, 6
Your
seconds,
social
you gotta do
media.
9, 16, 16, 9, 1 by 1, Facebook, you know, you've got to do for all social media, and then you know, you have to do the subtitles and everything else. So it
Yeah.
really, even if they keep the same budget, your deliverables have
Oh
gone
yeah,
up by, you know, exponentially.
yeah. And for
It's a new
actors, you
era.
know, it's another thing that you keep in mind. When you knew you were working on a big national campaign that was shot like this, and you were in front of the camera, and it was a film camera, you kind of had a, and you could see the monitor. Sometimes they would show you the monitor. You knew where you were. You knew what the world was.
Mhm.
But now, as Jack said, they're going to take that. They might shoot 16 by 9, but then they're going to take that and they're going to do a vertical version
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
And then because they're shooting in digital, maybe they're going to shoot 4K, maybe 8K. They're going to take a wide shot and make it a close up, and they're going to see the pores on your skin. So as an actor, you you can ask, by the way, you're allowed to ask. So is this for TV? Is this going to be for social media? Am I going to end up vertical on someone's iPad? Okay. So my reaction, is it too big for this? Should I tone it down? You can ask these questions. They're legitimate questions. If they don't
I
want
have
to
a
answer
question
you,
for you, Jacob. And also, if people have questions, you can put them in the chat for our guests.
sure.
But
Yeah.
I remember there was also a commercial that we did the casting for with you, and maybe you want to explain. It was a photo double and a body double that you
Oh, that
needed
was
for
wonderful. This is
the
one of the
start.
all-time greatest. I want to call it a disaster because it wasn't really a disaster because everybody got paid, but there was COVID. It was when COVID, it was like the second year of COVID or 18 months after the lockdown, things were loosening up. And we got a contract. I got a huge contract for FIFA, which is the football/soccer league, Korea. And they wanted to do a big spot for Korean FIFA, announcing a series of games in Korea. And they chose, I won't say his name because it's not, you know,
Yes, you
a
can.
star on the Montreal team. And the problem was it was COVID, so no one could travel. And they wanted to be the people in Korea, the creatives, the director was going to direct via wire, but not Zoom. It was a more sophisticated level of communication, real time, full resolution. They could see everything, 2 cameras. And because things had not really picked up yet, I got the best crew available. I mean, I got the crew of your dreams, the most experienced Steadicam guy, the most experienced camera assistants, art direction, everything I asked for, I could have because I had huge money. And so we had the brilliant idea. It was one set, well, one building with a couple of sets, but one main set, that we were going to do everything as a dress rehearsal the day before. Everything. Costume, make everything. So that was our D-Day. And we hired, through Hélène, an actor who looked just like the hero, just like the guy who was going to be in the ad. I mean, you looked at 2 pictures, you have a hard time knowing which one was which.
It was amazing.
It was
The same
amazing.
measurements, the look, the height,
Same skin tone. He was a
everything.
black guy. Same skin tone, same jaw. I mean, everything was this. I mean, this guy was amazing, and certainly at a distance because a lot of it was un peu clair obscur. You know, the camera was back a little bit. There was a bit of smoke in the air. There was backlit, so he had the body type. And we put him in the right suit, exact same suit,
That's right.
and we ran the rehearsal day, like a shoot day. To my everlasting shame, the only thing I did not do, I did not say to the cameraman, shoot it. Because he could have just turned the camera on, 2 cameras, and just shoot it. But we didn't,
Oh,
because it was
wow.
rehearsal.
Wow.
To my everlasting shame.
Yeah.
But that shows you even 40 years of experience. So we did the day, and it was perfect. The day was
And
perfect.
also, yeah, to actors, even if there's a rehearsal, always think it's the real shoot because they
It's a
might
real
be
shoot.
filming anyway.
Yeah, if you're standing in, if you're a double, it's a real shoot. So we
Wow.
wrapped a good hour. The guys in Korea are thrilled. They're loving everything. And then I go to sleep with a clear conscience. And around 4 o'clock, I start hearing my phone go off. And of course I grab it because I'm a conscientious producer. And it's my second in command telling me that our star, the guy that we're going to shoot with that morning, has been diagnosed with COVID.
That's right. I remember. He couldn't travel, right?
And he couldn't. He was in Montreal. He
Oh, right.
was in Montreal. He was here, and he had just appeared. Now, Jack, you didn't produce the commercial he appeared in that week. I don't think so. With Sarah Mishara directing and camera guy. He had appeared in another commercial just a few days prior, and it was okay. But for our insurance company insisted he do a COVID test the night before, and he did, and it came back positive. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm on the phone with Korea. They're practically crying.
Oh,
They're
what a
saying,
shame.
how could this happen? How could this happen? I said, it's COVID. We're writing the book. We don't know what the rules are. We don't know what the reality. We're writing the book. And they said, well, anything we can do. I said, well, we could put the stand-in the suit. No, because we have close-ups. And I said, okay. And I'm trying desperately to figure out some way to do it. In the end, the Koreans were great. At 6 o'clock, they said, Jacob, pull the plug. We'll pay everybody. We'll pay everything. We'll pay everything. Pull the plug. We can't do this. So we did. So I show up at 7. By 12 noon, we were wrapped. Everything was done. The lights were gone. Cameras were loaded. Everything was gone. And the guys submitted their timesheets. And we were all kind of upset because we had worked so hard. And what's the punchline? Can you guess what the punchline is? 2
Yes.
days later, we discover nobody. He took another test, and it was a false positive. He didn't have COVID.
Unbelievable story.
Il
Wow.
n'y a pas de COVID. C'était
So
un
these
faux,
things can
un
happen.
faux
You never know what
positive.
can happen. It's unbelievable.
And as a last commercial, that was a pretty good good.
Yes, indeed.
I got paid. Everybody got paid a huge amount of money, but we didn't shoot the
Yes.
commercial.
Wow.
This can also happen. Now, if you go to a set, you have a designated COVID person who's watching everybody, and
There's no more COVID.
yeah, there's no more COVID, exactly. So you don't have to wear masks necessarily, but you do
There
have to
shouldn't be
keep
any.
certain consciousness about it.
And
So
I want to also tell the attendees, Showbiz, that you never know what other person within your circle, what hats they're wearing. Like, I just realized that I've hired also Jack and you as video game directors, right?
Yeah,
Or in
absolutely.
animation also, Jack, I think, as well. So it's like sometimes you got to give back, right? It's like the
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also, Hélène is absolutely right, because you never know. Instead of thinking your career of kind of vertically, think of it as horizontal. Why? One of the actors, voice actors, who was on that video game that I directed, I recommended him for a voiceover job for a book, an audio book. And so he got another contract completely unrelated to what I was doing with him, but another contract reading an audiobook for, like, I don't know, like a week contract or something, and he got himself a nice little pile of money. So you never, and then he shows up later on a commercial that I was ADing.
Well, it's a very small industry,
It's a
so
small industry. So
and sometimes
always,
travel, yeah.
yeah. There's a fine line between overbearing and pushing your agenda and letting people know what you do. You kind of have to feel, you have to kind of feel that out for yourself. Sometimes it's too much. The people are just it's too much. You're in the shit, and somebody, usually it's an extra, insists on telling you their life story. You just haven't got the time for it. Read the room, feel the moment. Lunchtime is usually a good time to sell your salad or make people aware of what you do, if it's other
Yes.
things that you do.
And
But yeah, be aware that a job can lead to other things.
even Jack has
you might be
been
thinking about.
doing, because we've been working together in so many different ways, that he's been doing voice work. And
And he's great.
He is
He worked on that
amazing,
video thing, and
right?
he was
Who would
fantastic.
have thought?
He
Thank
did a
you.
Yeah,
German accent, which was like,
Well, you know, I have to say that it started because as director, often when you go into editing, you have to do a guide track for the editor to give him an idea of the timing of the commercial so he can cut the shots. And then later, at the end of the process, they hire someone like Maxime Marie to with a real voiceover to dub over what you've done. But it gives the editor and everyone else involved, whether it's VFX or whatever, a sense of timing. And I was doing my own voices, and I never wanted to do anything. And people saying, "Yeah, we like your voice. Let's use it." I said, "No, no, we're going to get a professional to do this." And you know, after a couple of years, I remember Hélène, we were doing a casting, an actor casting for a British accent, and we couldn't find the right person that we were looking for. It was absolutely very difficult to find exactly what we were looking for. And at that point in time, the client said, "Well, let's use your voice." I said, "No, no, absolutely not." And we went through an entire casting period, and we couldn't. In the end, they ended up going with my voice, and I was sort of reluctant to do it. And then he handed me a check after 2 hours in studio, and I looked at the amount, and I went, "I can do this." And you know, and it's been what, 15 years, Hélène, that you've been my agent
yes,
for this, and
and I booked you for like another show, like for with your voice and like a
yeah.
big like the fishing show, I think, or
That's right. We did the. I was
it's
the
a
I
good
was a
contract.
narrator for a show on National
Yeah,
Geographic US that you got me a gig for, which was
yeah,
amazing.
fantastic. I
fantastic.
did 2 seasons. Yeah.
Fantastic. So that's why I'm saying you never know who you're going to meet. And this is why we're all here. And thank you so
Mhm.
much for sharing. And in the meantime, since we're talking about voices, I want to let people know that this is new for them, that we also offer a one-day voice class for talent who wants to do video games, dubbing, or narration and get their demo done. And we have a next one on Saturday, November 29th. It's the last one for the year, but we have one in French next Saturday, not this one, but Saturday, October 18th. This one's going to be in French, and you can get a $25 discount today with a promo code VOICAT to get your rebate. The link is in the chat. I'm going to put it right now in the chat. So we have that available. We also have we have private coaching. We have all kinds of different things going on. We'll give you the link also for à la carte. Sierra, you can put it in. That would be great. My mission is to help as many of you elevate yourselves. So I also built a very special acting course for beginners with every details for a clear roadmap. And it's called the Showbiz Formula One. So I'll explain to you very quickly what it is. I know some people are asking in the chat. So it's a fast track online to learn all the basics, the tools and the acting skills that you need step by step. It's a major pit start. And the Showbiz Formula One is a 3-month online course platform designed for new and emerging actors who are ready to stop guessing and start taking real action. And with your personal dashboard, you'll go in a straight line to learn at your pace, since it's videos online that you can go back to watch anytime, anywhere. With a 6-month access, there's like 20 modules with templates for everything that you need. It's the industry blueprint. So you're gonna stop feeling lost and you're gonna start thinking like an industry talent. So it's really great to gain confidence to your last minute auditions as well. We're going to show you how to market yourself, to do your self tapes, the mindset, and you're going to start winning, right? You're going to know how to actually get in the game and start landing work. So the Showbiz Formula One is your launchpad and your first 12-week sprint toward real results in the industry. It's designed to move you from amateur to market ready in 3 months. This class has a value of $5,000. We sell it normally at $19.97. But because it's Thanksgiving weekend coming up, I want to give thanks to all the first listeners and offer 75% off at only $497, 1/4 of the price. But that's only valid until Friday, 5 p.m. for the long weekend of Thanksgiving. You have the VIP code for this special prize in the chat. It's called Showbiz with 1 Z. And you will get a gift certificate not a gift certificate, a certificate at the end on top of it. So the link is in the chat. Fantastic. So I will also add another bonus for the people taking it. You get the full casting directors list of Canada, the full list of talent agency, including special agents for comedians, talent hosts, speakers, as well as a full list of modeling agencies. So if you get this before a Friday night, so go for it. It's your chance to get your act together before the price goes up after Thanksgiving. So if you want to speak with an assistant about it, you can write coach in the chat and we will chat with you after the show in a breakout room if you have any questions. So it's your time to shine, my buzzing bees. So give yourself the gift. Keep the buzz, my showbiz, and share the link to Showbiz Connect for others. Thank you, Mark, for having shared the show today also. So we can give others to profit the knowledge and the connections. So we will leave the Zoom open for 5 minutes. If you need
Good
more
luck.
time to
I have to go.
and thank you, Jacob, so much. Jack had to go see yet another job. So thank you, everybody, for being there.
Thank you,
And we'll see
Jacob.
you next time on
Goodbye.
Showbiz Connect.
Good.
Bye.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.